Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen. Get a seat. Today's gospel, you just heard, we had two blind men who were coming to seek. It's interesting. Jesus often asks these questions to people that sort of seem self-explanatory, right? So the men will come to him and they ask him to be healed, and then he asks them, "Do you believe that I can do this?" Which seems kind of silly, because if they didn't really believe it, why would they be like following him and pursuing him so intensely? But he does this in other places, you know. People ask for stuff, but he doesn't just give it. You know, that's pretty typical. Like, people will come and ask for something, like the woman, you know, in fact, it never works like that. It's never like, "Jesus, I need this." It's like, "Oh, okay, here you go," right? It's never like that. It's always something else, right? It's like the woman at the well is sitting there, and Jesus comes unexpectedly and tells her all this stuff about herself, right? Reveals himself. She didn't ask for that, it just kind of happened. The widow of Nain, who's coming by with her son in the funeral procession, and Jesus and his disciples happen to run across into them at the intersection, and Jesus, without being asked, just raises the son from the dead. You've got other times where there's another man whose daughter is sick, and he comes to him, and he says, "Heal my daughter, she's sick, she's dying." And he says, "Do you believe?" And then the man says, "I believe, help my unbelief," right? This is kind of similar you know, to this in some way. So he does it all the time. He's always asking questions of people, setting up obstacles, like the Samaritan woman, where she comes and asks for help for her daughter, and then his response to her is what? This is really kind of scandalous. What did he say? It says, it's not right to give the food of the children to the dogs, right? So he's always doing something special with somebody, right? Which I think is an indication that he's treating every person like a human being. He's having a unique encounter and interaction with each person that he's running into, and he seems to know what each person needs and gives them what they need. And I think this is important about when understanding God and what God does, is that one, God can do whatever he wants, and Jesus too. Jesus is always doing what's needful. What do people need, right? Do they need an obstacle? Do they need to be challenged? Do they need to be asked a question? And so he's always doing this. And I think this is important to keep in mind when we think about how we interact with God, right? I mean, it's clear from the scriptures God is not, and some people have this idea, you know, it's more mature, right? Like, God is this, like, you know, divine candy machine or something, or jackpot. You just pull the handle down and you kind of get what you want. And then when you ask for the silly, vain, material things that you want and you don't get it, you get mad at God or something like that, right? Or when people criticize faith or Christianity or something like that, they often have this kind of an idea of God in mind that's very sort of two-dimensional, kind of Sunday school and childish sort of an understanding of what God is. But it's clearly, we look at the Gospels, and it's far more complex than that. So what Jesus wants is that we're not here to get a product or something, right? We're here for a relationship. We're here to have an encounter, an experience with people, to relate with each other and with God as a person. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. And one lesson in today's Gospel reading. The other thing I really want to focus on is the Pharisees' response. And this is perhaps something we can take with us of some kind of virtue lesson for the week. Their response is what? We cast out the devil by the prince of devils, which is a really stupid thing to say, right? I mean, it's kind of dumb. Like, they're saying, oh, he's casting out devils because he's possessed with a devil. Which is, I mean, look, like, let's see through this criticism, like much criticism. It's rooted in jealousy and fear and all kinds of other things, right? So these people are getting healed, right? And what is the Pharisees' response to this good fortune of somebody else? Right? They whine, they complain, and they criticize, right? Just nasty. It's nastiness. But you know what? We do that too. We do that too, right? When other people have something good happen to them, when they get a blessing, or someone's more fortunate than us, or we're down on our luck, unless we've trained ourselves and we've worked on this, what is an impulse that can come up in our hearts? Right? To criticize that person, to judge them, to tear them down, to say things like, well, they don't deserve that, or to say something nasty about them, or maybe something good happens to them, so we decide that we're going to go over to somebody else and we're going to say a little gossipy something about them or something like that, right? People do this all the time, and it's rooted in a sort of jealousy and fear. And ultimately what it is it's a certain virtue that's lacking, which is the ability to rejoice in other people's good fortunes, right? This is important, and it's something we have to work on through our whole lives, is that we train ourselves that when someone else is happy, like if we're sitting in a park and we see a couple walking by and they're holding hands, we're happy, like, oh, look, somebody's happy together. That's a beautiful thing, right? Like, it's a disposition that you must create within yourself. That when you see other people who are happy or well off or blessed or something good has come their way, that you rejoice in that. That you take a little bit of pleasure from other people's blessings. And often, people who are just bitter people do not have that ability to do that. They do not. And I tell you what, if you want a way to increase your own happiness, acquire that characteristic right there. The ability to rejoice in other people's good fortunes. And part of what it is it's this concept of expanding your heart, right? So that you start to, rejoice in other people's joys, weep in other people's sorrows, and so that your heart grows to contain other people in the entire world. I mean, this is sort of the call of the saint, is that one's heart expands to contain the world. So that every man's sorrows and joys are your own. And this is really the key. This is really what love is, right? When two people really love each other, right? They share everything. If they're in pain, you're in pain, right? If they're happy, you're happy, right? You live vicariously through each other and one another. And you start to share all these things together, right? And I think, marriage is a great example of this. And it's sort of the way, we live in marriages because it teaches us how to really live. And we can learn from there that we do the same thing in other relationships with people, right? I mean, what we learn in marriage helps us in how we learn how to relate to other people and throughout the rest of our lives, and we can use that, and this is the thing, is that when someone else is happy, right, that their happiness can be your happiness too. When someone else is hurt and sorrowing, you feel and share some of that sorrow too, right? That's what love is, right? Jesus Christ came down on the cross, right? Not to just get rid of all of our suffering, right? But what? To co-suffer. To share in our suffering, to bear the burden with us, to share in our joys and our sorrows with us, right? In Christmas, we call what? We call him Emmanuel, right? God with us. This is that principle of being with other people, right? This is the principle of love, which is the ability for someone else's life to become your own. And in Christ we have someone who loved us so much, right, that he was willing to sacrifice his life for ours. Because our life meant everything to him. And that is such an inspiring thing to have before us and how we learn. And one small way we can do that is to just share in other people's joys. To be happy for other people, to feel that for them. Not to be like the Pharisees who see something good happening, and all they can do is criticize and see the negative and have to tear someone else down to make themselves feel good. So if we want to be Christians, we want to have that mark of being a Christian, one thing we can do is to be men and women who share in other people's joys and sorrows, and that we find in other people's happiness becomes our own. And that is a sure sign of love and a sure sign that we're learning to follow Jesus like he asked us to. Glory to Jesus Christ.
Glory forever.